Presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren wants to rein in the influence of American billionaires with a wealth tax. Bernie Sanders is taking things a step further. He says billionaires shouldn't exist at all. But my next guest argues these progressive candidates are moving in the wrong direction. He says he's thankful for the existence of billionaire innovators. Joining me now, resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, Michael Scranton. Michael, we're going to have some fun today, you and me. I'm reading your article, and you say you're thankful for billionaire investors. You saved yourself with one word there. Billionaire innovators is what you said. Because the innovators you cite, Bill Gates, Larry Ellison, Larry Page, Sergey Brin, the world's not as mad with them as they are with billionaires who don't seem to have returned something to the economy because they've invented fascinating things that we use every day. There are a whole bunch of billionaires who are not innovators.
There are a bunch of billionaires who are not innovators. I agree with that. And I agree that there is a hierarchy of concern about billionaires. But it is now common, Ali, as you know, to hear people on the left, including elected officials, say things like every billionaire is a policy mistake, we shouldn't have billionaires. And so you're right, I focused on perhaps the least objectionable group of billionaires as far as the political left is concerned. But I think that if you look at the list of billionaires, they're all doing stuff to contribute to the economy. It's not just the Jeff Bezoses of the world that are making enormous contributions. And you know, rather than say that they're all policy mistakes, I think we should be saying success is good. We should want more billionaires, not fewer.
But if you're making your success, I got Jeff Bezos on the screen just a second ago. If you're making your billions off of the work of people who, let's say, make $15 an hour, let's take that at Amazon. Jeff Bezos, in 2018, made that annual salary of a $15 an hour work, it's somewhere around $30,000, right? Every 11 and a half seconds. Do you think there's a problem with that relationship? Low labor costs, an increasing wage gap, and billionaires making money because they preside over companies that manage to succeed because they have low-wage employees.
You know, I don't see a problem with that relationship. You know, I think the market is determining wages based on productivity. The market for CEOs is thin. So there are other factors that influence CEO pay. I don't see an obviously better way to set CEO pay than the way that we currently do it. And in the case of Bezos, he's not just a CEO, he invented Amazon. Bezos has contributed trillions of dollars of value to the rest of society. Does he get to keep 100 or 150 billion of that for himself? Yes, he does. But the overwhelming majority of the value that Bezos has created accrues to the rest of society, not to himself. Amazon is so successful at driving down prices in the market that it may be lowering the overall rate of consumer price inflation. You know what that does? That makes wages go farther. Jeff Bezos, by creating Amazon, is giving American workers a raise by lowering the prices they pay
in your
for the
article,
goods they buy.
You do some back-of-the-envelope calculation, which you write that you did back-of-the-envelope calculation. So I did a back-of-the-envelope calculation. The rate at the salary to qualify for being the top 1%, which is where our politicians are most critical, right? They sometimes say billionaires, but in fact, to be in the top 1%, you kind of have to be earning about $421,926 a year today. Now, if you took that, and I'm not adjusting for inflation because I'm assuming that $421,000 was the 1% for all of history, and you multiply that by 2019 years, meaning from the year 0 AD all the way to now, you will have made $851 million, closer to 852. So you wouldn't have even made $1 billion if you were the top 1% earner from the beginning of history. And again, I've front-loaded the inflation. So the number's probably more right than wrong. It's back of the envelope ask. Billionaires a lot of money.
Billionaires is a lot of money. Billionaires add a lot of value. You know, think about Google Maps, which you get for free. How much would you be willing to pay for Google Maps?
They got all your information.
Think
about
your data
Facebook.
Think about Gmail. Think about the iPad.
Amazon has information on us for free. Amazon played 200 cities across America to try and get them to relocate and has all this free information. So we give them the free information on which that internet is built.
We do, and that's a voluntary transaction. Nobody's making you do it, and nobody's making cities compete for Amazon. Everybody wants Amazon in their hometown. And there's a reason for that, because Amazon's going to bring a lot of value to those local economies.
Are you, as a free enterpriser to your core, are you at all troubled by what happens when you have income and wealth inequality grow at the rate we've seen it? Is there anything wrong with having that much of a spread between the rich and the worker?
What troubles me is the need to push economic opportunity into low-income households, into working-class households. We need to find ways to allow low-income Americans and working-class Americans to increase their wages, to increase their skills, to climb up the economic ladder, to reach the middle class. That needs to be the focus. And the question is how to go about doing that. Is the best way to go about doing that tearing down and demonizing billionaires? Or is the best way to go about doing that getting serious about what public policies we need to help that group of people? But I think the latter.
The public policies, the problem is we got 40 million people in this country who are food insecure in a country where we've got a whole bunch of billionaires. Wouldn't taxation solve some of that?
There's no question that taxation is needed. We should have a progressive tax system. We do have a progressive tax system. The higher your income, the more of your income you pay in taxes. And it is right, and it is appropriate.
The higher your income from labor, not from capital. That's the issue.
The higher your income from both. When you combine labor income and capital income,
right, but at some point,
the higher your income
person who's got $1 million plus in income, it's probably not salary or wage income, most of it.
But if you look at the person with $1 million plus amount of income coming in, whether it's from labor or capital, when you combine everything, that person is paying more in taxes than folks at the bottom of the income.
Not as a percentage of their income. They're paying more in taxes.
They are paying more in taxes as a percentage of their income than the people at the bottom.
That's not typically true. The rich are not paying more in taxes typically than someone at a lower level. There's a small window in which that's true, but generally speaking, when we're talking about the ultra rich in this country, they're not. The guys
generally
you're talking
speaking,
about
it is
in your
true, and
article
I'll bet you that pumpkin pie you're making that it is true. I promise you that. Let's table that because it's not really that important. We need to have a tax system that's progressive. We need to have a tax system that asks more of higher earners than lower earners.
Right.
And we need to redistribute that income.
Which we sort of are. So I guess the issue is your argument with the tone, the way it's being presented, the things like every billionaire is a policy mistake, billionaires need to stop being freeloaders, we live in a nation controlled and owned by a small number of billion. In other words, because what you're saying is something that a lot of progressives could get on board with. You're saying we're demonizing billionaires as opposed to saying, why don't we make sure that they're paying an adequate percentage of their income in taxes?
I have two problems. One problem is with the message. The message should not be that billionaires are mistakes. The message should be that we need more billionaires. The message should be that success is something we should celebrate, not something we should denigrate. So I have a big problem with the message. The second problem I have is with the policy. There is not any justification to cut in half the net worth of this small group of people. That's what Elizabeth Warren would do with a 6% wealth tax. There is no problem facing society for which a 6% annual wealth tax is the solution. There is no problem in society that requires taking half of the wealth of the wealthiest people in this country. It is divisive. It is dividing America along class lines. It does not solve a problem. And there are better ways to help lower income and working class households.
But it does solve a problem. You may not like the math on it, and maybe it doesn't need to be 6%, maybe it's 0.6%, but it does solve a problem. If you tax the most wealthy in this country a little bit more in a country where we've got such remarkable income inequality. It's weird, right, that one of the most successful, richest countries in the world have 40 million people who are food insecure. That's got to be a fixable problem.
There are lots of fiscal problems, and if you're willing to cut her wealth tax down by a factor of 100, or by a factor of 10, then I think we're
I don't think anybody's
progress.
taking policy advice from you and me on Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders campaign, but I'm just making it for argument's sake. I got to go, but I'm thankful that you came here to have this conversation with me, Michael. I appreciate it. Michael Strain is a resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute. Coming up, the impeachment.